Here we're doing stand-up shows October 20th through the 23rd in Florida and Buffalo. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a link for tickets. So they lied about Joe Rogan.
Breaking news, Joe Rogan, a popular comedian and podcaster who's told his listeners the COVID vaccine is not necessary for young people, just disclosed he has COVID. He also acknowledged taking a controversial treatment designed for animals. That's coming up.
So that's him saying it. Okay, so we got it. But what? Here's Joe Rogan now. He wasn't the only one. Anderson Cooper. By the way, Anderson Cooper, where else would you want to get your information but from an ex-Vanderbilt, a Vanderbilt who's an ex-CIA guy? That's where I want to get my news from. But here's Joe Rogan now. He's going to confront Dr. Sanjay Gupta. I wish I had that video. But anyway, they said it's many times that Joe Rogan was taking horse paste and animal medicine instead of what I've heard. They're lying to you about a medicine to dunk on someone who is their competition. Joe Rogan is wiping the floor with CNN, right? Do you think Sanjay Gupta, do you think Anderson Cooper, Don Lemon could get 1/10 of the viewers and downloads that Joe Rogan gets? They cannot. So this is them trying to find a way to dunk on someone who's taking away their audience. And Joe Rogan confronts CNN over it. Sanjay Gupta, here it is.
So for you, Joe Rogan,
yes,
I would say you've had it.
Yes.
So now get one shot of the vaccine.
No.
Why not?
Because I have better immunity than I would if I was vaccinated. Right?
Yes.
Don't I?
I think your immunity is really good.
So why, if I've already gotten through COVID and I was really only sick for a day, and then 5 days later I was negative, and I do have the natural antibodies now, why would I take a chance in getting vaccinated on top of that?
By the way, I'm glad you're better. I'm glad it only lasted a day.
You're probably the only one at CNN that's glad.
No. We're not.
The rest of them are all lying about me taking horse medication. And we should talk about that.
That bothered you.
It should bother you too. They're lying at your network about people taking human drugs versus drugs for veterinary.
Calling it a horse dewormer is not a flattering thing. I get that.
It's a lie. It's a lie on a news network.
I like how Gupta is trying to get away. Yeah, it's not flattering. You mean that they're blatantly lying to smear a guy? That's not flattering. What? But Joe doesn't let go.
It's a lie that's a willing. That's a lie that they're conscious of. This is not a mistake.
Yeah,
they're unfavorably.
Sanjay Gupta just confirmed it. This is not a mistake. This is a lie that they're conscious of. And what did Dr. Sanjay Gupta say? Yes. You want to hear it again?
That's a lie that they're conscious of. This is not a mistake.
Yeah.
They're unfavorably framing it as veterinary medicine.
Well, the FDA put this thing out. You saw that. Did you see that thing that the FDA put out?
What did the FDA put out?
So now he's referencing, and we already showed it on this show, the FDA made a tweet that looked like it was written by a high schooler that works at interning at the FDA, saying, hey, y'all, stop taking ivermectin. It's not for you. It's for animals. Okay, now we've already debunked that stupid tweet here. The FDA, we all know, is in the pocket of Big Pharma. Why would they do something like that? I don't know. So Dr. Sanjay Gupta is now trying to say, well, the FDA said it. So now we just repeat it. And he knows better.
It was a tweet, and it was snarky. I admit it. They said, you are not a horse, you are not a cow, stop taking this stuff, or something like that.
Why would you say that when you're talking about a drug that's been given out to billions and billions of people, a drug that was responsible for one of the inventors of it making the
Nobel Prize
in 2015?
Yeah.
Yeah, a drug that has been shown to stop viral replication in vitro. You know that, right? Why would they lie and say that's horse dewormer? I can afford people medicine, motherfucker. This is ridiculous. It's just a lie.
I don't think anyone is thick.
But don't you think that a lie like that is dangerous on a news network when you know that they know they're lying? You know that they know that I took medicine. Like, here it is. This is ivermectin.
You got
this
it
is
with
right
you.
here. Somebody gave it to me.
All right, hang on. The thing is, we're like going so fast. Like I feel like I'm missing.
Do you think that's a problem that your news network lies?
Well, I don't.
Dude.
What did they say?
They lied
What did
and
they
said
say?
I was taking horse dewormer. First of all, it was prescribed.
Sanjay Gupta, like he doesn't know what they're talking about. What did they say again? I don't really understand what they said. You don't know what they said, Dr. Sanjay Gupta? The thing that you've been talking about with him now for at least a couple of minutes. You don't know what they said? They said he was taking horse dewormer, and they've been couching ivermectin as a animal medicine instead of what it is, the Nobel Prize winning human medicine. That's what we're talking about. And he's pretending he doesn't know. And I get it, because he'll lose his job if he tells the truth on Joe Rogan. I get it. And so here, there's more.
To me by a doctor.
Yeah.
Along
They
with
shouldn't have said
a
it was
bunch
horse.
of other medications.
If you got a human pill, because there were people that were taking it, the veterinary medication, and you're not, obviously. You got it from a doctor, so that it shouldn't be called that. Ivermectin can be a very effective medication for parasitic disease. And as you say, it's probably, I think what, 250 million people have taken it around the.
How does he not know that over almost 4 billion prescriptions have been written for this? He says 250 million. He's only off by a factor of like 12. What the F? How did this guy's he's the leading doctor for the COVID guy for COVID over at CNN, and he doesn't know. I know this. Joe Rogan knows this. Guess who doesn't? CNN's doctor doesn't know this, or pretending not to. He's misinforming still, as he's admitting his network has lied about ivermectin and Joe Rogan.
Well,
more,
I get that.
Way more.
So
way more. Billions. Of people have taken it.
Can I just come back to the one I want to talk about?
No.
Two things on the ledger.
You have, before we get to that, does it bother you that the news network you work for out and out lied, just outright lied about me taking horse dewormer?
They shouldn't have said that.
Why did they do that?
I don't know.
You didn't ask? You didn't think that was you're the medical guy over there.
I didn't ask.
He didn't ask. So he sees people on air running around giving medical misinformation about COVID, and Dr. Sanjay Gupta doesn't A, correct them, and B, doesn't ask why this is happening. Does anyone believe him? I don't believe Dr. Sanjay Gupta. He knows exactly what was happening. They're lying because they're funded by Big Pharma. And that's what they do. It's herd mentality. They all get, it's just what Noam Chomsky told us about. This is exactly how this works. And he knows this, and that's what Sanjay Gupta looks like when he's trying to gaslight you. That's his look. That's his awkward smile when he's lying.
Have asked before,
but they did it with such glee.
No,
yes,
Joe.
they did. I watched.
You watched?
I watched.
You watched? No, I don't think there's
yes,
glee.
They did.
I don't. No one takes.
Joe Rogan says he has COVID, taking livestock drug despite warnings. Yeah,
Jamie had to pull this up.
You want to play it?
Does she?
This
have
is
glee?
your news network.
I'm gonna watch.
Let's see.
I'm gonna watch.
So he just pulled up a video with the title "Joe Rogan taking livestock dewormer for COVID." That's the title for their CNN video. And he's like, oh, shit. God damn it. Facts. Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm not at CNN anymore. People are going to confront me with actual facts.
Rogan telling his 13 million Instagram followers that he was treated with several drugs, and he included ivermectin on the list, a drug used for livestock that the FDA and the CDC warn against using to treat COVID.
Turns out I got COVID.
Look, they put a yellow filter on me too. The kitchen sink out of all kinds of meds. Monoclonal
You see the original video versus that? I look like shit there.
They really did do that. They put a filter on Joe Rogan at CNN to make him look sick. They put a filter on him. I'll show you in the next slide. But they did that. This is their news report at CNN. And I love that he's making Dr. Sanjay Gupta sit through one of their bullshit news reports.
Do you know that?
I think.
So here's what they did.
And turns out I got COVID.
Here's how.
So we immediately.
There's how Joe Rogan really looks. That's what CNN did to him. They made it look like he was dead. That's how Joe Rogan looked. That's what CNN did. And you wonder why people get their news from YouTube? You wonder why people don't trust Dr. Sanjay Gupta, Anderson Cooper, Don Lemon, Wolf Blitzer, or Ken Klipperstein, who's one of the liars about this over at The Intercept? Do you understand why people don't trust pro-censorship organizations? You understand why people have no faith in the establishment media? That's what Joe Rogan looks like. That's what they made him look like after they lied. Joe Rogan announces he has COVID, praises horse dewormer ivermectin. That's the headline. And here's Anderson Cooper. Well, here it is. There it is right there. Joe Rogan says he has COVID, taking livestock drug despite warnings. No one's warned anybody about taking ivermectin. They've warned people about taking an animal version of ivermectin. Do you know 80% of antibiotics are used on cows? That doesn't make penicillin a cow medicine. And CNN knows this, so does Dr. Sanjay Gupta, and they're lying to you. They're not getting it wrong. They're not making a mistake. They're straight up lying. And are they going to be censored? Is their YouTube page going to be taken down? No. In fact, here's their... So they tried to put it up. They tried to put up the Joe Rogan interview at CNN. Watch Dr. Sanjay Gupta go one-on-one with podcaster Joe Rogan. It got ratioed to hell. 6.6 thousand downvotes, 3,000 upvotes. That's at their own YouTube page. It got ratioed to hell, and we all know that Google protects places like CNN, like they protect TYT, and they take away dislikes. So that's got probably way worse. That's at their own YouTube page. People are calling them out for lying. Okay, let me go back to here. So there it is. And so then,
for one, but the point is, that's a lie.
It can be used for humans. I get it. I totally...
Not just could be used for humans.
It was invented for humans. It won the Human Nobel Prize for Human Medicine, given out by humans to other humans. And Dr. Sanjay Gupta is what he's doing is called gaslighting. He's trying to misinform you. He's trying to weasel out of a lie. That's what this is.
Is often used for humans along with all the other drugs I took. All human drugs.
Yes,
they know it's a human drug.
It's right. But
they lied.
The thing
it's defamatory.
It is. Yeah, they shouldn't have done that.
It's defamatory, right?
Well, I don't know if it's defamatory.
I bet it is.
Well, I'm not a lawyer. It's
a lie.
Well, and you're not much of a doctor either, but you are a bullshitter. You're a world-class bullshitter, Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
See, here's the thing. You can have nuanced discussions about this.
No,
right?
you can't.
Yeah,
you can't have nuanced discussions about lying about someone taking horseshoe
There
wormer.
was no glee, by the way, from her. She
well,
was. I
didn't
think
watch her.
anyone takes people's illness.
Yes, they do.
They don't want you to get
stop
sick,
it.
Joe.
Yes, they do.
They
were
want you to get
upset
sick.
that I got healthy. That's one thing they didn't report on. The fact that I was negative 5 days later. And working out 6 days later.
Well,
6 days after infection, I was back in the gym.
I'm glad.
Felt great.
I'm glad you do. I really am.
Me too.
I think
Thank you.
Most of the people.
I'm glad you're glad. You're a nice guy.
Most of the people I know, I think, would be glad that you. I don't think that there was any.
There's a lot of people out there that weren't glad. But my point is, you're working for a news organization. If they're lying about a comedian taking horse medication, what are they telling us about Russia? What are they telling us about Syria? Do you understand that that's why people get concerned about the veracity of the news?
The concern was, look, just the nuanced part of this. And you're not taking a horse dewormer. I get it. You got that as a legitimate medication from a pharmacy.
Somebody gave me. That's kind of a joke. My friend Megan brought.
So before I bring in Max, I just want to show this. So you saw Dr. Sanjay Gupta completely with his tail between his legs, admitting 3 or 4 different ways. Joe had to corner him. That, of course, they shouldn't have said that. Of course, they lied. And I don't know why they lied. I didn't ask anybody. That's as big. And so now he goes on with Don Lemon. So that video got out. And so his boss at CNN said, "Hey, you son of a bitch. What are you doing telling the truth on Joe Rogan? You get back on with this wax figure, Don Lemon, and he's going to walk you through how you lie." So here's how they go.
So very important. I know it's in large part a tongue-in-cheek interview, because it's Joe Rogan and there's you're jockeying back and forth.
Because it's Joe Rogan, someone who, gets the facts right, and when he gets something wrong, he admits it and retracts it, unlike us here at CNN.
But he did say something about ivermectin that I think wasn't actually correct about CNN and lying, okay? Ivermectin is a drug that is commonly used as a horse dewormer. So it is not a lie to say that the drug is used as a horse dewormer.
It is a lie to say that Joe Rogan was taking a horse dewormer. That is a lie. And calling ivermectin a horse dewormer is also a lie by omission, because you're leaving out the part that it's a human medicine that was found out to be repurposed for livestock. Not the other way around, you wax figure liar.
I think that's important.
But what's really bad, we all know Don Lemon's a tool. He was hired because he's got an empty head and he repeats whatever they'll tell him. But Dr. Sanjay Gupta just showed he had a little integrity on Joe Rogan. Watch how it all goes out the window.
And it is not approved for COVID. Correct?
That's right. That's correct. It is not approved for COVID. And you're right. I mean, the FDA even put out a statement saying, basically reminding people it was a...
So again, they're not talking about the issue. They're pretending the issue was, hey, was ivermectin, is it ever used for horses? And is it recommended by the FDA? That's not what the lie was. You lied. You said he was taking a horse medicine. And now watch, Dr. Sanjay Gupta is going to lie again.
Sort of message from the FDA, but that said, you're not a horse, you're not a cow, stop taking this stuff, is essentially what they said, referring to ivermectin. Now, I think what Joe's point is...
It has been approved for humans, but not necessarily for COVID, right? Yeah.
That's correct. It's been...
Yeah, that's not what your network was saying until Joe Rogan confronted Sanjay Gupta to his face. That's not what you guys were saying. It is a human medicine, but it's not approved for... That's not what you were saying.
Been used for a parasitic disease, for something it's called river blindness, and it's been very effective for that. But, just because it works for one thing doesn't mean it works for something else. Right. And, there's still a few ongoing clinical trials around ivermectin. But for the most part, if you look at the data, there's no evidence that it really works here.
There is mountains of evidence and mountains of anecdotal evidence. Both of those things are called evidence. There's been randomized controlled studies. There's been an overwhelming anecdotal evidence. Both those things have evidence. Those are both evidence. So for him to say there isn't any evidence, he's again lying.
When Joe got sick, he took ivermectin. He also took monoclonal antibodies, which is, an infusion of these antibodies. So he took both those things. It's very likely it was the monoclonal antibodies that made him feel better so quickly.
Sanjay, always a pleasure. I hope this was an easier experience than Joe Rogan.
Yes,
you held your
it was
own,
scripted.
though. It's very good.
3 hours. I mean, I don't...
So let me go ahead and bring in Max Blumenthal on this. So there's nothing else I really can say. I mean, that's just straight up lying. And then Dr. Sanjay Gupta got in trouble for telling a little truth on Joe Rogan because he got confronted to his face. And Joe Rogan he brought it right up. Here it is. Otherwise, Sanjay Gupta would have lied all the way through that interview. Thank God Joe Rogan has a setup where he has a TV screen and he can bring shit up and debunk what Sanjay Gupta is saying. So Sanjay Gupta knew he had him, right, by the balls, and he had to admit the truth. Well, he got in trouble for that. Sanjay Gupta then got a directive from CNN, his boss, to go on with tool Don Lemon and misinform people once again, pretending that CNN did lie, that it was Joe Rogan who lied. Isn't that amazing, Max?
Well, it was damage control. It made CNN look horrible to go on the #1 podcast in America, carried by Spotify, and to be confronted by someone doing actual journalism, which all the little frauds who paid $80,000 to go to Columbia Journalism School and work for The Intercept have refused to do. And he called out CNN not just on lying about Joe Rogan and early treatment, therapeutics against COVID-19. He called him out for lying about Russiagate, for lying about the dirty war on Syria, for essentially being a mouthpiece of Wall Street and the war state. And Wall Street, of course, includes Big Pharma, which Sanjay Gupta has been known to shill for throughout his career. So it was amazing to actually see Sanjay Gupta confronted. And I don't think he handled it as well as he could have, but he was sort of graceful about it. I mean, he's not as demagogic as a Don Lemon, whose entire job is to please the Democratic Party and CNN's executives and whatever forces are behind them. So Don Lemon goes on CNN and calls for banning the unvaccinated from being allowed into supermarkets, being allowed to buy food, basically starving them, turning them into surplus humanity, reducing them to bare life. I mean, Don Lemon is a much more reptilian figure than Sanjay Gupta, but they collaborated together to try to cover up the reality of this interview where CNN was exposed for spreading medical misinformation. And the YouTube video that was voted down of CNN by YouTube's own standards, it should have been banned because it's medical misinformation about ivermectin. What really upsets me about the whole narrative of ivermectin is not whether or not it works for COVID-19. No one knew what ivermectin was before COVID-19 came around in the media. None of these media people had ever thought about it. It's like how they didn't know what Uyghurs were until the Pompeo State Department said, we want to embarrass China and claim there's a genocide going on. And so everyone's like, the Uyghurs! They always find out about Konstantin Kalimnik, and they find out all these obscure figures from Russia because there's a narrative there, and suddenly they all know everything. So basically they now are obsessed with ivermectin. And what they've done by denigrating it as horse paste is they've insulted the heroic life-saving scientists who helped develop ivermectin from a natural compound, creating a pill that costs about 3 cents a pop that they donated to the global public in order to save lives across the global south, including in Africa where they eliminated river blindness. I'm talking about Satoshi Omura and William C. Campbell, who are both still alive, who accepted the Nobel Prize together in 2015 for ivermectin, this very simple drug that has been administered to, as you said, probably billions of people, and has reached the most vulnerable people in the world. So while I can't say that I know if it's effective for COVID or not, it has been shown to be effective for a range of tropical diseases. And these jerk-off corporate pundits are just denigrating it to score political points and attack any possible early treatment that takes people away from the constant booster treadmill and big pharma profit bonanza that's being unraveled right in front of our faces. It's an insult to science, it's an insult to heroic scientists, and it ignores the experience of millions and millions of the global poor who have been saved by this simple little drug. In Venezuela, which is under U.S. siege, where the healthcare system has been obliterated because the U.S. will not allow the importation of medical parts. The U.S. destroyed the Venezuelan economy, produced hyperinflation. Ivermectin is saving lives in hard-to-reach regions, especially around the Amazon, against tropical diseases. There are even ivermectin production facilities in Venezuela. I spoke to a friend in Nicaragua, which is now under heightening U.S. sanctions. They have been using ivermectin, including to treat COVID-19 in public hospitals. And yes, it's true. Nicaragua and Venezuela are both importing vaccines. They see the vaccines as a way out. It needs to be mentioned. But ivermectin has been used there, as it has been used across India, which is not suffering from the Delta wave the same way the United States has. So more research is certainly needed, but we need to ask, why is there so much fear of early treatments, especially cheap, off-patent early treatments? It's pretty obvious that this undercuts Big Pharma's profit margin. It's a potential nightmare for Big Pharma if this drug shows any efficacy. And they're even freaking out about an on-patent drug that Merck just rolled out as a therapeutic for COVID. If you look at what happened when this Merck pill appeared about a week ago and was approved for treatment and showed about a 50% efficacy rate in preventing hospitalization or severe illness, Pfizer stocks went down 10%. So it's pretty clear what's happening. And who attacked that drug? the same outlet that attacked ivermectin and used their attack on ivermectin to fundraise. The Intercept. I can get into the conflicts of interest that the Intercept has here, but there's an attack on early treatments, and it's pretty clear why.
Go ahead. What are the conflict of interest? We're doing stand-up comedy in Florida, in West Palm Beach, and Dania, and then we're going to Buffalo, Baltimore, Tempe, and Portland. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all our tickets.